target customers. Wait, and my wait, let's say okay, and my target customers that I sell to are in extremely male-dominated industries, which is aerospace, defense, rail transportation, and oil and gas. And my background is in telco. So I always, without exception, find myself selling to a male audience. And, whether it's the procurement managers, whether it's the engineering managers. And in my experience, I think I have a distinct advantage being a woman, not because I'm a woman as such. We have a great product. And in the engineering field, people are more pragmatic, even if there isn't a big female presence. So if you bring a practical solution that can improve productivity, reduce costs, etc., and position it without too much tech jargon thrown in like IoT and AI and ML and NLP, and talk sensible language, then you make a sale. And you make that more than the sale is that, a sale is only the end result of a very long relationship. So I do work with people in Airbus, in Rolls-Royce. Again, for information, two biggest engineering aviation companies, both with women CTOs and a fair representation of women on their boards. Fair, like 2 or 3, but still, for a traditional industry, it's a long thing. And also my tech, other tech companies, a lot of the founders and co-founders are male. I rarely see women when I'm a speaker at events or so. In hardcore enterprise tech, it still is very male dominated.
But Aruna, let me just ask you a little bit deeper. That's fine. I mean, I've been I'm a computer engineer. I've been in this world for the last, I'm not going to even say how long. It's really long. But do you feel that tech is responsible enough in a sense of in the relationship to humanity, relationship to society, and relationship to the nature, which somehow female energies represent?
I mean, if I understand the question right, I think a female, again, tech is only, I'm not an engineer. So my background is business economics. So I have another advantage while selling tech to engineering audience, because I'm not tech. So they understand me, and I don't know, and I'll probably get confused in the jargon. But there is a lot of female energy that tech can bring. And again, I don't know whether I want to distinguish between male and female energy. It is the passion as a startup founder that you bring, whether you're male or female.
Okay, cool.
And I think a woman brings more of that.
Thank you. But let me challenge now or invite into this conversation our two colleagues. So who wants to go first?
I'll take a moment.
Please. Prasanna, please go ahead.
Sorry, we have another panelist who's just joined us. So I'll take this opportunity to welcome Pamela Kumar.
Hello,
Pamela. Are you still muted? Yes. Welcoming you, Pamela. Thank you for joining us. She's the Director General of Telecommunications Standard Development. It's fantastic and wonderful to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. We'll continue this conversation. I'll pass it back to Her Excellency to continue this conversation.
Thank you, Mansi. And Pamela, welcome. And please just join later on. You will see how we are still in the first block of conversation, discussion about the leadership in high tech. So now, Prasanna, please come in and share your thoughts, share your views.
Okay, so
I run just one thing, Violeta, I just wanted to mention that I do need to leave at around 3 p.m. because there's a meeting that I need to chair that has, I can't get out of it. So.
Yeah, but okay, fine. Yeah. That's fine. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So see, coming to this thing, personally, I run a cybersecurity company out of Singapore. So I have been in this for last 25 years, so I've been working on computer security from age of 16. So now I'm like 44, so almost. So what happens is when it comes to cybersecurity, what I have seen is we have a 50-50 representation between men and women, So if you see my company's HR and finance is my own wife, So she's like taking care of the entire, administration, the management, and the HR aspects of it. So I more work on the technology. So I'm not very, sure whether there is really any distinct, there is a difference between men and women, when it comes to cybersecurity. Personally, that's my field. So I feel it's about whether we will be able to deliver, as a company to people. So often, but I have seen most of my clients, CISOs who we often sell to, the banks, CISOs, they're all men. Very few CISOs nowadays I'm seeing, which is like represented by women on the top. So I don't think much differentiation is there, but I think women in cybersecurity would be a ideal choice in cloud and this thing, because of the nature in which they do management. I think most of the women are a little more democratic, and the way they think, they have like a teamwork rather than men. See, personally, I myself, it's like, for me, it's like point A to point B. So it's like I always tell people, can I do this or can I do this? So it's like, okay, who can do this job and who can deliver it to me? But when women are there in the team, who are doing this, they often call up people. They find out, who has the right, talent for doing the job, and they're little more, they listen to people below them. So we have like a mix kind of, stuff in my organization, because I believe that that's what works for me.
Super. Thank you very much. And let me go to Srini. Is that correct? Do I say it right? Okay.
Yes.
So let me be even a little bit more provocative. Lately, we've been seeing many reports showing that IT is becoming one of the biggest polluters in the world as well. So we're in this transition. Will the IT be the one who will really help us to become a green economy, or it will actually become one of the dirty industries? So do you think that we would get to that stage if women would be more in charge of the way how technology is developed, the way how technology actually relates to life and to planet Earth? What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I have been seeing quite a few women who actually trade in cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and that's really not at all a very good thing. It's a useless endeavor, actually. So if women stop trying to be like men, the world will be much better off. And the perspective that I take, I've got a long background in computer science and also in the yogic mind sciences. So you see what's happening right now, as we can all tell, is that the entire mechanical mind is being exported into the machine. Yes. Artificial intelligence is going to replicate everything that can be automated. And what's going to be left of the human mind is something which, the science of yoga can actually answer. Now, the perspective we should be taking is that we are giving birth to this machine. It's a very, you can say it's an what do you call an anthropomorphizing perspective. We're giving actually birth. So when you give birth to a baby, the first thing that the guy does or the woman does is to stop your bad habits. You'll stop smoking, you'll stop drinking. And how does that relate to AI? Well, AI soon, we will not have to actually program it. It will simply watch what the world is about, and it will do its best to automate it. So if it watches a world which is actually more humane than what we are today, then it will become so. Thankfully, AI does not have much of a, an instinct for evolution beyond what it is programmed for. So these fears that we have that AI is going to take over does not exist. However, it might become just a useless, wasteful toy. And like you said, it might actually just suck all the energy out of the system, and we might be doomed to live in a climatic disaster. However, the more that individuals are getting more and more conscious about the earth, the the AI will actually pick up on it and will make recommendations, and its algorithms will be tuned towards such kind of a behavior.
Srini, may I just go even deeper on what you just said, because I think this is such a strong message. But behind every AI, behind every cloud or crypto solution, or whichever we name today, there are people behind. Yeah. So what we're saying is that what I'm trying to maybe challenge you all is, do we have conscious people behind those technologies, or we just have geeks who just want to do whatever they want to do without thinking about the consequences? What do you think?
Yeah, well, when you say the consequences, you immediately put a time frame on this, right? Which is a very interesting thing, because today's economy is run according to GDP and quarterly based, whereas, and it's a very transaction based model. So there is really no thought about consequences for the long term. And so we are being very blatantly, let's say, gender oriented in this discussion. So let me just say flat out that women generally are much more long-term, nurturing, caring, relationship-based people. And so if the economy can shift from this kind of a transaction model of GDP, quarterly reports, etc., having to go IPO and then trying to meet your quarterly targets towards a more longer-term sustainable development goals, then I'm sure that we will be able to have better outcomes. And in order to do that, we have to, of course, naturally become more conscious ourselves.
Great. Thank you. Pamela, would you like to come in now and just make a reflection to what Srini shared with us? How do you feel when you hear him talking about this behavior that we have currently and the need to be more long-term oriented and to bring more awareness and consciousness into technology sector as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with him. See, what's happening today is that technologies are converging, right? I mean, you look at, I come from this 5G, 6G world. So all what was called IT and telecom is converged, AI, ML, and everything is converging, and you're looking at putting all these together and building solutions. So in order to do that, you require a lot of multidisciplinary cooperation, right, as we are addressing these, and that kind of collaboration comes very naturally to women, right? I give this example that look at your home and your family. If you have a huge gathering, and the women traditionally have had this role of going into the kitchen and putting this meal together, or and they would naturally just, everybody would take their little bit, and they just, for you don't have to do much. Naturally they'll take the different roles and see what's missing and make it happen. They focus on the bigger goal, and everybody picks a piece, so that this collaborative thing comes very naturally to women. And that kind of leadership and that kind of working style is very critical to where we want to go with technology. And as he's saying, focusing on the sustainability and the long term, the principles, the ideas, the bigger picture or the bigger goal, they will always align with. So it's not their personal ambition and their personal agenda or their personal advancement which drives them. They are always driven by the bigger goal and the bigger cause. Not even goal, but the cause. No, they're not driven by revenue, but by the cause. What is the impact to humanity? That's what enthuses them more naturally. But getting into the corporate world, you are forced to be thinking about your career and your next promotion. That doesn't come naturally to women. Okay. So I think these observations, I'm really happy to see the two gentlemen on the panel echoing what I have felt throughout my career, so obviously the style, there is a difference in the leadership approach and also the approach to work and the prioritization that women do. I give an interesting example that throughout my career I've been like the only woman, right from days in college, right, where we were just two women in my class, and throughout at my level I've been like the only woman in the core engineering function or the senior management function or whatever, right? And once, lo and behold, there was a meeting. There were these two people in two different roles. They were having a very acrimonious email exchange, and I brought them into my room and started. And I was, I had set aside an hour that she will give her point. And luckily, this was the first time ever I saw that there were, the two people were just women. There were three women, three of us trying to resolve an issue. Otherwise, I never really had this, right? So I was ready for that. One person would push their position, the other one would put their position, and I would have to play some games to bring them to see each other's position and come to some agreement. But here, what happened was this one lady, she gave her point of view, the other one gave her point of view, and that's all. And suddenly they both saw what each other, and they came up with a solution. I didn't have to do anything. Okay, so this empathy of trying to understand, right? That's another very, very interesting thing that I experience with women. The third point that I think was underlying in the discussions that happened right now is this never say no kind of approach, right? Women find it difficult to say no. So again, it goes back to the family, right? If your child comes with a unrealistic demand also, you will find a way to satisfy that. You don't want to disappoint that person, the kid, right? And you will do some, maybe create something else. So women don't normally say no to anything. They'll try to maybe think out of the box or give it a different framework. But yeah, we're going to do it, right? If that's the kind of, that's another aspect.
Great, Pamela. Yeah, let me pick up now just key points, because we have two very interesting more questions, and I would like you to engage in those as well before you leave. But if I'm hearing you right, is that even in high-tech world, when we have a balanced workplace with men and women collaborating, we get better solutions, and especially now that we are moving towards more complex systems like artificial intelligence, this will become even more important. But so I would invite everyone, and we have proofs now with statistics as well, that corporations, especially like even boards, when they have at least one woman on the board, there is an enormous increase in a number of innovations that are supported in those environments. So I'm inviting everyone, let's bring a bit more consciousness to the IT world as well, a bit more responsibility and long-term vision. And then I think the technology can stay a tool and it will not take over our society as a goal. And that moves me now into a little bit more tech question and tech challenges that we are facing today. And for our audience, first, maybe Prasanna, could you just define for us what is the challenge of cybersecurity altogether? Why is it so important, and what do we people have to be aware of when we are interacting with high-tech technology?
Okay, see, coming to high-tech, like particularly the AI, ML, and neural networks, the problem with people is people don't often understand, what it is. So I'll give you a beautiful example. Just 1 week back, I had this insurance, which I had to renew. So it was supposed to debit from my bank account, So I didn't want it because I wanted to pay from the credit card. So I log into this insurance company trying to tell it, that I don't want you to debit from my account, but I want you to, take it from my credit card. And I'm trying to log into this system and I'm trying to go for chat. There's a bot which is going to answer me. So this is like an AI bot, and it's like the most stupidest thing, you can ever encounter, because the answer to your question is not in that bot, So it will keep making you going from menu to menu. See, I'm much younger than my mother or my, my dad or my mother. So my mom told, I'm not able to figure out, please try to do, because you are the techie, Can you believe that I did half an hour of trying out with this AI bot and nothing came out of it? So finally, I had to go to the bank and tell them, don't debit my account, So there was no way that I could interact. So this is the simplest way where we are interacting with an AI system, So we are talking about AI so much. So, but when it comes to cybersecurity, I'm more worried, because we are now seeing hackers, deploying brute force attack on AI, So it's like there is a system which is automated, from Amazon. So some hacker buys a server remotely and he deploys the AI system, and the AI is trying to, break into a bank's password system, So it's trying up customers' usernames and passwords. There's another AI system which is designed to break into anti-phish. See, for example, you have these phishing sites, So there are AI systems which are identifying the phish. There are AI systems which are actually using AI to do the phishing, So you will see often these websites with CAPTCHA, So for example, so that, only humans can log in. There are now AI systems which break into CAPTCHA. So the way I'm seeing it in the high-tech world is more, it's getting misused, because there is no one really supervising or monitoring. There is, and corporations, as it's driven by more of, it's about money, they are making. So I don't think they are thinking really about ethics. And even the programmers, often I'm seeing my colleagues, even the younger generation today, they're just looking at how much money I'm going to make, every month. Even their parents are happy, for them to work in Google's and Microsoft and everybody, I don't really see, except for CSR activity from the corporate, anything they are really going to do to curtail this AI system to ethically behave. So also, as you know, right, the AI systems, for example, conventional neural networks, these are all built by humans, basically. So there is an embed, for example, if I am building it and I'm like an Indian guy, who's born in Bangalore, there's a slight bias, which is there in the AI system, because the AI basically does what you are telling and it's getting trained. So what is the data set? For example, are Indians going to use this data set and then the AI gets trained with, Indian people who are training it, or is it going to be European? So what I'm feeling is the bias of an AI system will also be the same bias what humans have, which could be dangerous in long run. And finally, it's the few corporations which are going to control this. Until somebody is really going to go down and say, this is the ethics and we are going to start monitoring the AI systems, it can't be at just policy level, because see, most corporates, I have seen in my career is they will tell you, the sales guy will tell you 100, bullshit, it's not the truth, what he's talking about. So when it comes to the back end, nobody knows how they are going to use this data, how they are going to use this against people, So we are just talking about normal technology. You're not still going into weapon systems, whether it's going to be used by militaries, So those are more scary stuff.
So if I heard you right, technology can never be more ethical, smarter, or even more human than we as humans are, because we are the ones who are producing all that. So we somehow redirect all our behavior to our technological solutions as well. So Aruna, you're in sales. And how do you feel when you listen to Prasanna saying that? Are you really paying attention to be honest and to warn customers and to really bring the cloud computing, artificial intelligence, or any other products to people with a full awareness of the weaknesses? Or do you just try to sell the beautiful story? And please unmute yourself.
Sorry. I don't see myself as a salesperson. So I think the first, especially when you're in a small company, a startup building a product that's new, because you can't sell unless you've listened to what the customer wants. So for me, I'm a listener more than trying to push a sale. And again, the other thing that's important is that since I'm not an engineer, a computer scientist, or I'm trying to sell a solution. It could be any technology. And by the way, what we have in our system, in our software, is an expert system, and it's a learning system. So I never bring about, and believe me, none of my customers have ever have asked me, is it AI or ML or, what's underlying your technology, but it's what can it do for us? Are we able to process our technical manuals? 10 times faster so that an aircraft doesn't sit on the ground for 4 days. So I really am not selling, even though I run, I am the founder of a software startup, I'm not selling a technology. Technology is just an enabler to get to a point where it will make my customer more efficient. So that is a story they want to hear. So I don't think they see me as a bullshitter or trying to sell a technology, but trying to sell something that would solve their problem. And I think that is a huge difference when you're trying to get somebody to buy your solution, because of course there is a transaction, where I'm also here to make money because I've got investors and I want to sell my software. But the whole idea is, if you start pushing a sale based on a technology, you'll never get that buy-in, and you will not
So
build that.
basically, if I understand you correctly, you are constantly focusing on the benefits and your customers as well, when you prepare the marketing strategy for them, and eventually that manifests in sales as well. The primary focus is more on the benefits and on the positive story of the technology. So, but what about the customers, their customers, when they have to face it? Do they get the full picture, or are we maybe just trying to push aside all the challenges in a negative sense because we see the benefits?
No, I mean, there are challenges. I mean, you've listed a few of them. What will work on a Windows platform will not work on a Linux. It won't do this. There's all that, but that is the second level discussion. That is, I mean, you have to iron those out, because they could see all the benefits that they'd get from buying our software, but if it cannot be integrated into their existing systems without causing too much disruption. But that is the second level. But that is the story that my head of delivery will have with their IT guys on how to integrate. But if that buy-in on the benefits is done at different stakeholder levels, not just the person selling, giving me the purchase order, but even the most important, which a lot of the so-called salespeople forget, are the end users. Who's going to be actually using your software to deliver that? Is it easy for them? Is it going to change their lives? Is it going to make their lives more difficult? Because your sale, however much you've sold at CXO level, could be blocked by the lowest data operator of the software.
Thank you. Okay, super. Pamela, can you jump in here? And you work more on a telecommunication side, also with you deal with standards. So what do you see has changed in the last, let's say, 5 years? Where are all these technology solutions merging towards? What is happening at the background?
As I mentioned earlier, also, all the technologies are converging, right? Earlier, IT and cloud were two different, just a minute. 5 minutes, I need 5 more minutes. Huh? Then I'll be there in 5 minutes. Huh? So, yeah, so they, so the technologies are converging. IT and telecom, there are no barriers anymore. Cloud has become the backbone even for telecom. So AI and ML, all of these drones, robots, UAVs, everything is a building block now, right? And you're talking about developing solutions for verticals, whether healthcare or education and different use cases. That is the big shift. The big shift is all this convergence of technologies and focus on solutions and use cases and solutions for use cases, and how technology is then evolving these use cases, right? With technology, your whole paradigm changes with new advancements in technology. So that's the big change, and that's where standardization, interoperability, and all becomes very, very important. Doing trials, doing pilots, multidisciplinary convergence. All of these are the big change that is happening.
Thank you very much. But Srini, what do you think? I mean, are we moving too fast?
I will take leave. Huh? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela. All the best.
Pamela, sorry, before you leave, could we just thank you and just present the award to you? Take a second.
Okay.
It's a gesture of our, gratitude, and we'd like to present to you and acknowledge you as a leader of the decade at the Women Economic Forum 2021 in emerging technologies. We congratulate you. And yes, thank you so much for that, Srini. Putting our hands together in honor of you. Thank you so much for your time, for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mansi, and thank you, Pamela. And let's go back. You still. Srini, do you think we're moving too fast with incorporating technology in every pore of our life? Are we developed as conscious beings enough to understand what we're doing? Is the future in artificial intelligence to correct all our, let's say, human mistakes? Because we're not made for zero and ones. We are these holistic, unpredictable, very dynamic creatures. What do you think?
So the question is, do we think that, we're like rushing headlong into this very, very high-tech infrastructure world without actually pausing to get the right perspective of what we're doing?
Correct.
And so, even in small ways, I will, of course, we can talk like, in very big terms, but let me just give you one small example. I mean, especially because this is a women's forum, let me just bring it back to that, once in a while. When you look at, for example, cybersecurity, which is a very important threat to take cognizance of, generally women are more gullible. Okay, and again, I'm sorry to use like gendered gendered language over here, but that's what this whole forum is about. But women tend to be more gullible. You send a phishing email and say, oh, I have this cancer kid who needs money, whatever, or like I have this photograph which has to be made into an artistic rendering or whatever. Please send some money a little bit. They generally, you find that the women are being targeted more. If you look at Facebook, for example, the majority gender is actually women who are on it. And they get into it because they're naturally empathetic and they're looking for connection. So when and if they're not given the kind of, what shall we say, awareness or the training to spot these kinds of scams, then definitely, we would be rushing into technology, way too fast. So I'm just saying at a very specific level, I think it would be good for women to become more aware, in this online world, that you don't have the kinds of support or like guardians to watch out for you, because you're alone behind your computer and you can easily get scammed. So I think that would be one essential thing to do, is to teach women, but at least to cultivate a sense of, awareness, and, that it's a nasty world out there which can dive right into your bank accounts or into your psyche. And so from a women's perspective, that's what I would say. From a general societal perspective, of course, I would think that, having, the destruction of the planet is evident. And, this relationship-based approach that we are talking about over here, when we have what is lauded today, because money is driving everything, right? And now entrepreneurs are the new guards, right? If you're an entrepreneur, okay, more power to you, like, oh, he's an entrepreneur. But really, what we should be promoting is this notion of ecopreneurship, okay? And ecopreneur takes care of the people, it takes care of the planet, and profits are also important. So I think this undue emphasis on entrepreneurship needs to have this, coating of, ecopreneurship. That way, things will be much more, it will move at a more organic space. One of the things that that entrepreneurs do, and I've been in this business for like many years in Silicon Valley, and this thing, how do you scale? This word called scaling is like so built in deeply. So this word scaling itself is something which is which is, it's a very machine-like approach, right? Whereas when, just throw money, once you get a certain MVP, which means a minimum viable product, then you throw money at the problem and you scale like crazy. The way that ecopreneurship would work is that we would grow, we would cultivate, so initially you would nurture it, and then you would grow it, and then it cultivates and it organically spreads. It has a built-in governors. It's got, when you want to, when you're in ecopreneurship, the solutions that you would provide for each, say, client or for each region would be tuned very specifically to what that particular environment needs. So it will definitely
let me jump in here, Srini, because do you think that there is an opportunity for IT world to move towards globalization, which means having these shared global visions, but really empower the local entrepreneurs as well because there is more and more knowledge on the local level as well, and really co-create together with a very strong feet on the ground in their local environments. Could that break this pattern of this, just pushing for money and for scope?
Yeah, you see, the current model thinks that the machine, which has been programmed by a few select super smart guys, is going to be the repository of all intelligence. However, natural intelligence or human intelligence exists in every corner of the world. I mean, it breaks my heart when you see like children who do not have the right opportunities to develop, but they're really super smart kids. So if we are able to push our solution, the solutioneering, if you're able to push it more close towards the edge, and that's where the notion of edge comes into it, right? With blockchain and with trying to build like resilient systems. I mean, the whole internet was built fundamentally to be resilient to natural disasters, which is why you don't have centralized switches, right? You've got these packet switch networks. You've got, now with blockchain, we're able to move, and with, for example, like, 3D manufacturing, we're able to actually push everything down. I mean, 3D printing, we're able to push a lot more stuff down to the edges. And edge AI, maybe, Prasanna would have a better clue about that, but edge AI is also coming up. And so I would say that the more we push to the edges, we're able to build more autonomous, solutions. And I think that the infrastructure is definitely there to help us get to that.
Thank you very much. And let me go back just quickly to Prasanna. You are actually running a security company, and now all these devices have somewhere a little chip that makes them sort of smart, in a sense, being able to connect to the World Wide Web. And let's just share with our participants, how do you deal with all that? I mean, do you have a confidence that also the management tools and the security tools and even surveillance tools are coping up with this challenge, the way how quickly the connected world is emerging? Please unmute yourself.
I don't think there is any easy answer to this, because currently the manufacturing itself, if you see the hardware is coming from different geographical location, so there are times, when we have ourselves discovered, sometimes there are firewalls, which is supposed to be from the US, but the core programmers are sitting inside China, so it's supposed to be a Silicon Valley company, with 200 engineers sitting in China. And it is running in, like, in India itself, you will see that it's running in for at least 100 big companies. So without anybody having any idea that, it's the Chinese programmers who wrote the source code for it. So I think, we are looking at, we have to be very vigilant, that's what I feel. Finally, what's most important is we have to be constantly vigilant about, what's the software, who owns it, who are the programmers behind it, what's the end outcome, what they are interested in. I think that's the only way to do it. So, but everything is network. So though we are talking about edge, so edge is bringing more of the processing to the local level. But again, there are, people are interested more in consuming data. The cloud computing is always interested to consume data. Then only the big data analytics comes, So the edge computing, they are doing a little bit of processing there at the edge computing just to increase the speed. But again, most of the backend data again flows into the cloud. So if you look at, see, I'm sure you have been there in this for a long time. So we were talking about the mainframes in those generations,
Yes.
Then came the client servers, and finally the computational power was the problem, So that's why we moved to the cloud. So now again, we know that the small devices have more computational power. So we are again going back to the client, server architecture.
Exactly.
So I think the edge and cloud are just different names for the mainframes and, the client server architecture. But most important is, at the end of it, we have to start investigating the ethics of companies, which are into it. Otherwise, we will be in serious trouble, when it comes to processing of data.
Thank you very much for bringing this issue to the light as well. And it's actually very good for a transition to our last set of questions, which is humanity versus singularity, transhumanism, surveillance capitalism. All these new terms are coming to surface. And I just realized that Simon has joined us as well. And hello, Simon. But we have only 10 more minutes.
Hi.
So we will bring you on only on the last question.
That's fine.
So maybe, Srini, let me go back to you and just ask you, what are these words, what kind of meanings these words have in Silicon Valley? Could you explain a little bit?
Well, humanity means how you can essentially spend billions of dollars to force a certain agenda that you think is humane.
That's a Silicon Valley definition of humanity.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
You can see it. It's evident, right? I mean, the more money you have, the more you think you're a bleeding heart liberal, and you can just throw your dollars around and you can say, okay, the whole world has to be vaccinated, or the whole world has to be fluoridated. This is what they think, right? And they think that, because you got $1 billion that you are now God, and therefore you can set the stage. So singularity means that the word singularity was coined, I think, one of the most biggest proponents of this is Ray Kurzweil from Google. And it's the moment when humans and machines, essentially, we almost become one, right? Now, it is evident that, in as much as artificial intelligence is creeping into the human world, for example, I have a Roomba, a robot which comes and helps me. Similarly, with this metaverse thing that's happening, we are going to enter their world, right? So we're both entering each other's worlds. And, at that point in time, this kind of, going back and forth, this, transhumanism, right? You will be able to actually put on your glasses, you're in the matrix, you take it off, you're off the matrix. But it's not going to be that easy because like I said, it's so tempting. It's just like a drug, right? I mean, virtual reality, augmented reality, and the first thing, and I'm going to bring this back to the women's forum, the most potent addiction is pornography. Okay, and that's going to so that's going to really suck everybody's brains into the machine. And we just, now this thing about surveillance capitalism is something which I think there was this lady from she's a brilliant writer in New York. I mean, she's the one
she was the one who
she's the one who coined it. Now the thing is that the ad tech business is going to go down the toilet, guaranteed. There is no way, because people are tuning out to ads, and there's so what is going to be replacing that, will be, see, right now we've got what's called as social networks, or like social media or social connection networks. It started off just by providing simple social connections, and then social media. So LinkedIn probably is a good example of like a purposeful network. However, the issue with LinkedIn and Facebook is that you notice LinkedIn, everybody tries to create this work-life. See, there's this thing called a work-life balance, right? But that is really stupid, because work is a part of life. There's not work in one place and life in another place. Work and life are actually to be commingled. All of life has to be balanced. So, we need systems, and this will come about. We need systems, we need social networks that are actually purposeful, but they're fully integrated with all facets of your life. That way, this is the way that, women this is what we call as a socio-economic network, right? So when you move to a socio-economic network, then the surveillance capital system will start to break down, because what's happening right now is, for example, we have been completely atomized. We've become atomized by Amazon. So for example, Amazon knows everything about me and the next house and every house in the street. But, so they're able to actually target us as individuals. However, we on the street have no clue what the other people are buying. If we as a group could know what we are buying together, then we can actually push back on the sellers.
Exactly. Super. Can I just bring, because we only have 6 more minutes and the system automatically shuts us down. So can I just bring in Simon, and quickly, Simon, could you reply a little bit to this last part of the conversation? I mean, Srini just really served well with his definition. So what do you think about it?
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And I think what I'd like to add to the conversation is that in artificial intelligence, the part that I worked in, co-founded a company called Aria, ARRIA.com, and we're kind of mapping subject matter expertise into being able to look at data and analyze it and report on it. And it's actually a really slow process. And it made me appreciate how slow everything actually takes to actually kind of get this kind of consciousness, this human kind of consciousness ability to kind of look at the world and for it to be lifelike is an incredibly drawn out process. It's like Lego blocks building up to the moon, and occasionally you get these kind of flashes, or you see the documentaries and it's like, oh, it's all going to happen really, really quickly. And I think the Ministry of the Future in New Zealand, which is my homeland, in the 1970s had drawings and designs for a smartphone. So sort of 37 years later, something appears. And to go back to the earlier comment about Ray Kurzweil, who coined the singularity phrase, he said by the time that future kind of arrives, it's been there for so long that you don't even realize that it's kind of arrived. Like the future of smartphones is kind of like, it just sort of came up over the last 13 years, and it's well and truly here. So I think the metaverse and this all pervasive AI, yes, we can see it. It's so clear what's going to happen, but the journey from here to get to there is much further than I think anybody really realizes or anybody expects. And from a Women Economic Forum perspective, I think there's so much value in contributing to the digitizing and adding artificial intelligence. So I do believe it is a tool, and the actual building of the AI tools and taking a woman's perspective on everything is required to make artificial intelligence really powerful.
Thank you very much, Simon. Also, to point that out, I would just take one sentence to bring everything together. The technology is here to stay. We still believe that humanism and humankind has a chance. And in order to bring these two together in sort of to serve technology, to serve the humanity, we need the entire humanity at the table. If humanity is not just men, it's men and women. And together, maybe we can still bring also to technology a bit more long-term vision, a bit more compassion, and a bit more understanding. and really limit the human negative aspects to be too deeply integrated in the technological solutions as well. So thank you very much to all of you. Simon, I wish you were with us sooner and we could have had a really much longer discussion, but Mansi, there are 2 more minutes. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Her Excellency, for an absolutely captivating conversation, for moderating it spontaneously. And thank you to each one of you for bringing, your 2 bits and really opening up our worlds in what what we had no idea about means for conscious technology, for understanding ecopreneurs, and really sort of leading the way with leading purpose over profit. As a gratitude of our affection at the Women Economic Forum, it is my privilege to present awards to you, to each one of you, to acknowledge the body of work that you're contributing to our world today. So I'm inviting Her Excellency to join me in presenting these awards, which will be emailed to you. Inviting Simon Small, the chairman of Moonshot Studio, tuning in from New Zealand. Please acknowledge this title as a leader of the decade in emerging technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for this momentous occasion. That's how we do it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Simon. Inviting
Thank you.
also Srinivasan, the founder of rishisapiens.com, tuning in from California today. Please accept this award as an exceptional leader of excellence in the work that you do, in the person that you are. We congratulate you. Thank you very much for your time and the work that you have contributed today. Thank you. Calling upon Pamela has left us. She has already been awarded. And we have Aruna Schwartz with us, the founder and CEO of Stellar Technologies. It is my honor to present to you on behalf of the Women Economic Forum this award as our gratitude and affection as we acknowledge you to be an exceptional woman of excellence in the resplendent body of work that you create every single day. Prasanna J, we have you here again. You've already been a recipient of an award earlier this morning. So really a pleasure and privilege to have each one of you in this absolutely captivating, and really shifting perspectives discussion this morning. And we know and we understand now that technology is in fact the most growling agent of change. Her Excellency Violetta Bull presented some challenges ahead, sort of really triggered our thoughts. And I really offer my gratitude, heartfelt gratitude to this conversation that has been absolutely eye-opening, mind-opening, heart-opening. Thank you to each one of you for your time. We look forward to you joining us for our upcoming sessions. We have a non-stop action-packed day. We're going till 11 p.m. India time, so stay with us. Thank you so much to everybody tuning in from wherever you are. Thank you.
Wonderful panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Very
time.
well
Thanks
conducted.
a lot.
It was really nice.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well done, Mansi.
Oh, Srini, you're still here. Wonderful to connect with you. I will, where, how does one find you?
So I actually live about most of my time in India, but I come here occasionally to California. So I live in India. I live in Chennai and in Pondicherry.
Oh, wonderful. Can you please drop your email address here? So then I can drop you an email and I can be in touch with you. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. So where do you live?
I'm in Dubai currently, in Abu Dhabi, but I'm based out of Delhi and Goa.
Oh, lovely.
I'm in the
Nice
wellness
places.
space. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so you run a spa or something?
No, I'm a wellness facilitator, yoga teacher training, and mental health, and we run retreats across the globe. And
very nice, very nice.
Corporate wellness. Yes.
Do you have another minute?
Yes, but I'm not sure this will automatically disappear.
We'll just quickly. I just want to say that I actually did 2 years ago. I did a tour of India, what I call as my decolonizing yoga tour, and so I've been a trained yoga practitioner since the age of 8, and
Wow.
yeah, so I've taught about 100 or so students in Hatha
Oh,
Yoga
because
and
I
in